So let's come to Nicola Roberts, whose career as a singer and songwriter so far has been bookended by big success on 2 TV shows. She won her way through the various auditions, judging processes and public votes on Pop Stars The Rivals to become a member of the chart-topping group Girls Aloud. That was in the early noughties, and then last year she won through again in the crazy ITV Saturday night blockbuster The Masked Singer, beating all comers while singing encased in the costume of the Queen Bee. And this year she returned to be on the final show as a special judge. But there's even more to Nicola than that, and she's here to talk about the Read, Share, Talk initiative, which attempts to combat loneliness and promote well-being through reading. So just explain how that works. You're obviously encouraging people to read books. How does it combat loneliness?
I feel like reading, I haven't been an avid reader my whole life. It was never a go-to for me. But when lockdown hit last year, March 2020, I'd gone from being so busy to then, like most of us, just silence really. And I live alone, so it was my sister really that said, now's the time, you should be reading more, get into it, it's really therapeutic. And I'd never really heard of the whole term bibliotherapy before, and it just really worked for me. It was a great pastime. You're kind of like, you're achieving in the sense that you are working at something, reading through a book. It's a little achievement when you get to the end of the book. And when you're able to get lost in a story, you're not thinking about your thoughts, you're not thinking about what's happening in the world, your anxiety is reduced. And I truly do believe in the whole, the angle of bibliotherapy. I think it is very therapeutic. So I think the majority of the books that the Reading Agency are providing, they're providing 375,000 books, which is massive. And the majority of those books are all wellness and books regarding mental health and also how to tackle loneliness. And obviously for people who can't get to therapy or people who don't have, a solid support network around them who they're able to talk to, I think reaching into those books and trying to get advice and trying to, curate new brain patterns of positive thinking and how to reduce anxiety. I just think it's a brilliant idea, and it's something that I've benefited from, so therefore I wanted to get involved.
You've been quite a campaigning person over the years. You had great success about tanning. I'm not sure how familiar all Radio 4 listeners will be with you, but you were anxious that people were doing harm to themselves if they've got pale skin the way you have, that you're encouraged to, there's a sort of commercial pressure to get yourself tanned, and you were active in getting legislation in to stop that for under 18-year-olds at any rate.
Yeah, that was quite a while ago now, but I do still count that as one of my sort of greatest achievements, just to be able to make a difference in that way. And I hate politics. I hate how long things take, no matter how much common sense they make. And so to be able to lend a voice to something and to make a difference and just, be in a position where I can shout quite loud and help things to be moved along is actually a really great position to be in. And that's what we did with the sunbed bill. We stopped it so that children were able to leave the classroom in their uniforms and go and lie on a sunbed. And just the whole rhetoric around, especially in that era when I was younger, it was very much like, you have to be tanned, you need to look glowing and like you've been on holiday. And of course, we live in England, not all of us look like that.
Well, of course, your fame comes from, initially, from that huge success that you and Girls Aloud had when you won one of the earlier sort of singing talent contests on the television. But Girls Aloud turned out to be much more successful than anybody could have imagined. Going into it, did you, because quite often a group wins a talent contest, you have one hit or a Christmas hit or something, but you had, was it 20, 21 top 10 hits, album successes, because the music turned out to be much better than it normally is. Why was that, do you think?
Do you know, honestly, the whole thing, now that I'm a bit older and I look back, it's extremely far-fetched. But I just think credit to the team that we had. You know, we had the most incredible songwriter and producer that were...
So Brian Higgins is sort of head of the team with that, yeah.
And Miranda Cooper. And we had an A&R at the label that was willing to take risks. So when Xenomania took the music to the A&R, he didn't get scared by it. He didn't say, oh, it doesn't sound like anybody else, therefore it won't work. He said, it doesn't sound like anybody else, let's run with it. And that worked for us. You know, I don't feel embarrassed to say, like, we had real cutting-edge pop music at the time. I think we were just all quite raw. We'd been plucked from obscurity. We didn't know what we were doing. We were winging it. And I think, you know, because of the fact that the public put us together, we were kind of in their hearts, I guess.
But it wasn't all pleasant, though, was it? You didn't enjoy all of it. You put up with a bit of bad commentary as well, though, and you wrote and performed that extraordinary, in its own way, a song, Sticks and Stones, sort of hitting back at people, you know, what nowadays would be on Twitter, I suppose, because people get at people in the public eye.
Yeah, I did face some... Well, yeah, I did. I had quite a lot of negative press, particularly when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, probably till, you know, mid-20s. And again, like, I don't want to sit here and say, oh, that was the tone of the era. And I just think there was a lot of emotionally uneducated people who didn't consider people's feelings and didn't wonder how a 17-year-old girl would deal with negativity about how she looks, and that was the time. I mean, we still face it today. Like, you know, we've had International Women's Day this week, and this week has been very triggering for a lot of women out there, you know, in the recent events of what's just happened this week.
Yeah, in your case, I was thinking, obviously, you get anonymous people, but there are also well-known people making remarks. I wonder if they've all apologised now and say they realise that wasn't right.
God, I don't know.
No, okay.
Probably half of the journalists forget that they even wrote it. Who knows?
Sure. Now, and on a perhaps a lighter note, or maybe it's a serious note, I don't know, you was Queen Bee a year ago.
Yes.
What on earth did you make of that? You have to, again, there may be listeners who've not seen this. People competed against each other. It's called a masked singer, but it's not really a mask. It's a whole container that you had to perform in.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. You know what? Honestly, it's so much fun. The team are amazing. The whole concept of the show is just so happy and a great tonic, I think, for these times. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and people just sign up and they're like, all right, okay, well, we'll sing our favorite songs every week, and you kind of get to be somebody else in the outfit, which is really quite free and liberating. You know, especially as a woman performer who is judged more harshly than a man, to be able to just do your thing and sing how you want to sing, but not have that aspect was very liberating.
Yeah, so you won it last year, and as I mentioned, you're a special judge this year, and Joss Stone won through.
Yes.
Well, there's bound to be another series of that. Do you think you might be a regular judge in future series?
Oh, I don't know. They have their panel out, don't they? And I mean, I would love to go back. I feel a great affinity to the show now, because obviously the first year I won and the second year, I was so jealous that I hadn't seen the whole season unfold, and I just came in for the end. I was so jealous of the other judges.
Athena, would you ever go into a singing competition or a comedy competition as an exercise?
I've done comedy competitions. I would never do a singing competition. No one deserves that. I mean, that would, MasterChef, I do MasterChef, but okay. I can't sing a note. I'm sorry, I can't.
It wasn't so much the singing aspect as that sort of a big profile program, a talent contest. And Nicola you were 16 when you did it, Nicola. You got that confidence in your own ability at that age is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I just wanted to sing. It was literally, you know, I'd wake up and go to sleep, and it was all that was on my mind. So, and I'd been singing in competitions, and I'd, you know, coaching in drama classes and dance classes since I was like 11, 12. So the fact that it happened so early for me was just interesting.
Just sometimes looks a bit cruel, not on you, the winners, but there's one person or 20 people who go into it and they're rejected. It looks quite harsh on a
Absolutely.
16-year-old to go through that process.
I actually did an interview this week, and the journalist asked me, she said, do you think it's okay for young people to be going into competitions like that, considering the sort of trolling and the hate that they might receive? And I said, but you have to look at the question you just asked me. It's the same way in this week, how in regards to women's safety, it's the other people that need to check themselves. Like, if a young person is extremely talented, why can they not share that with the world? It's the external world that needs to check themselves on their trolling, and the media coverage needs to be positive.
So people should be positive about the people they like and say nothing at all really about the people they're not supporting. That would be one way of doing it. All right, Nicola Roberts, it's been a joy to talk to you, but you're here to tell us about the Read Talk Share initiative, and listeners can find out about the Read Talk Share initiative on the Reading Agency website and Twitter feed. But thank you for the moment. Nicola Roberts, Queen Bee, thank you for joining.